Welcome back. So I'm going to try something this lesson just to use some of your Git knowledge. I'm going to try and play around with comparing the different files that I actually changed. I did a checkout of version 16 and now I've made a lot of changes inside the code. Not a lot, but I made changes so that we can actually start saving and then getting information about the actual model that we are trying to save down here. So I want to show you how to do that. If you right click, like in this case it's the user create HTML where I made some changes, and you go and find the Git and you go down and select compare with the latest repository version, you'll get something looking like this. Pretty awesome. I can see exactly what I changed. So what did I do? First of all, inside this file, inside the user create HTML file, I went in and I added some more information to the input field. So I added an ng model and I added a username. So remember, this one is actually required to use the input field inside a form inside Angular 2. So you need to also add the name. So I add the model that I want to store stuff in for the input field and then the name for the form to use for the input field. I do the same for the email down here, same idea, add an ng model and add a name for the email. Now notice I also made it another line. It's up to you if you want to do it this way. I don't think that one should be there, but it doesn't matter. But that's kind of what I did for this lesson, to actually get input fields into the model inside the TS code. What did I do in the TS code for user create? Again, very simple. If we go to Git and we do a compare with latest repository version, you can see what I actually added here and there. I added a few more lines, but it's not really rocket science. This is the old code. I went in and I added an output field so that I can actually emit to others that I'm creating a user, whoever's listening, right? I added a new user so that I can create the user and I can actually start putting in the information from the HTML view. And then I just initialized the user so it would not be null anywhere. The last thing I did is on submit, meaning that when I submit the code, I'm actually going to call this new create event to whoever is listening on the outside. That's all I changed inside this guy. And again, let's just have a look here, because when I do click submit button down here, this button right here, that's also a change I made. When this button is clicked, it's going to be a type submit, and then it's going to call the ng submit, and that's going to, in the TS code, actually go in and call on submit right here. And then that'll redirect to whoever's listening. So that was the two files I changed inside the create view to actually make it ready to start sending data about who I'm going to create. What else did I do? Inside the user HTML view, the user components HTML, if I go in again and Git, just to have a look at what changed there, you can see not a lot. I went into our current component here. Let me just make some lines here so you guys can actually see it. There we go. I went into this line here and I just added a new line saying create user event. Pretty much just where it's actually going to be triggered that we're actually creating the user, right? The other one was just a warning, do you want to create? And now you're actually saying, yes, I do want to create in the smart component. And that will then be redirected to the user component TS file, which is very simple. I just made one change here. And that's pretty much just add this create user where it just console logs right now. So that's how simple it is. Again, very basic. I start out by adding new input fields, information about the input fields. I change the button to have a type of submit. When I do the type submit, I actually hit on submit. Could be called anything. It could be called create user, anything you want. But that name needs to be referred to inside your TS code, where I then call the on submit and redirect to my create user event here. And then the user event is used in the smart component, where I redirect it again to the create user inside the TS code for that component, just to print the information. That's all I'm going to do for this lesson. So just read the code, figure it out. Next time we're going to try and actually send this to Firebase. Have fun.